Welcome back everyone, and in this video our goal is to explore the various spline settings available to you whenever you have control points, not segments, selected. So this is going to be a cool one, and then it's going to allow us to fine-tune how certain areas of our spline are shaped. Currently I've got this road out here, and you know, it looks all uniform, if you will, but maybe you want to make a road that is skinny in some areas, fatter in other areas. How can you control that? Well, first, before I show you how to do that, let's make sure that we're all on the same page. I've got my splines level chosen up here. Of course, I'm in landscape edit mode. Got my manage tab selected here. I've got my edit splines tool selected over on the left-hand side. And of course, we are working within our splines layer. So the parameters that we're talking about here are available whenever you've got a control point here selected. Over in the details panel, we're looking at these parameters underneath our landscape spline. Now, some of the more common ones you will want to fiddle with here are your width, for example. So currently, I've got just one spline control point selected here. And as you can see, you can slide this to the left or the right to make that be as wide or as narrow as you want it to be. And I'm currently controlling this for one control point. However, if I reset this and I select all my control points, I can then adjust this all at one time. So instead of a width of 1000, I could set it to be a width of, say, 500. Hit enter, and now you got yourself a skinny track. Okay, I'm going to click off of that right away and click back on my single control point here to explore a few other options here. We've got this side fall off. We're going to skip this layer width ratio for now. We're going to go to the side fall off. And as you can see, if you increase the size of this and then release your left mouse click, you've got a gentler slope leading up into that. That's the fall off that we're talking about here. And currently it is uniform in terms of how much it falls off on the left and right hand side, but you've got this left side and right side fall off factor that you can adjust. If I'm going to set the left side factor there to, say, 0.3 and the right side factor I can set to something like 0.6. So you got different slopes that you can set on either side of that. I'll reset those as well. Left side and right side fall off, layer fall off factor. We'll talk about those in another video as well. Let's talk about mesh vertical offset here. You can see sometimes, well, you saw it in previous videos where the track was kind of buried underneath our landscape. And you saw that when I had, instead of the straight quarter mesh applied here, if I had the floor mesh applied. Now, depending on what mesh you have applied here, you may or may not see your landscape itself kind of clipping through these meshes, but you do have a way of fixing that quickly and easily here in your landscape spline settings. So again, I've got a control point selected here. I'm going to select all control points. And this mesh vertical offset allows you to offset all the meshes applied here. So if I was to set my mesh vertical offset to something like 200 and press enter, kind of lifts that track up off the ground all over the place. And of course, if I wanted to set this down a little bit, I could set this to negative 500. And what's going to happen is suddenly your track is, well, it's mostly buried beneath your landscape. Let me set that back to default here. Now, this end fall off value here, we're not really going to see this too much with a circular spline here, but we can test this out with our fence here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on our control point for the end of our fence mesh. I'm going to raise it up into the air like this, and you can see how currently, if I do that, the landscape does not deform all the way up to the edge of this. And that's because I've got my end fall off set to 2000. If I was to set this to 0, you can see how it's going to go all the way to the edge here and then create a sharp cliff, if you will. So that is if you've got a straight spline, it doesn't connect on one another, how sharp your fall off here is going to be at the end. All right, guys, that's going to do it here for some of the common parameters you want to change with your selected control point or points. We will see you all in the next video.